Hi, it's Edward, back with another video. Please take a moment to click the thumbs up button below and consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your support. Today, I read an interesting article on CNBC.com written by Greg Iacursi titled, "When it comes to saving, Gen Z asks, what's the point? That's dangerous, expert says." According to the author, 49% of adult members of Generation Z say planning for the future feels pointless. The author went on to say adult members of Generation Z are feeling disillusioned about their economic prospects. The author also said many feel frustrated by a tough job market and worried about debt. Well, my friends, I get it. It is a tough job market out there. I have a good friend who has been looking for a new job for quite some time. He has applied for several. He gets really upset when he finds out that there are hundreds or in some cases thousands of other applicants for these jobs. Now, some young people may be fortunate enough to secure a job, but it may not pay enough to allow them to purchase a primary residence and start a family of their own. That's just the situation going on now in America. A lot of jobs don't pay enough to allow for one breadwinner to support a family. In some cases, jobs don't pay enough for two breadwinners to be able to support a family. That's why we see people working multiple jobs and still relying on credit cards to bridge the gap between what they bring home in their paycheck and what their cost of living is. It's truly tragic. Now, I'm going to share a story with you. When I was in my early 20s, I graduated from college. I immediately started a master's degree program. After completing that master's degree program, I got a full-time job. Now, this was decades ago, but my first job only paid $29,000 a year. I think I would have had a tough time buying a primary residence and covering the monthly mortgage payment, which of course includes property taxes and property insurance, and also paying for all of the utilities and covering the maintenance costs for the home. It would have been tight financially. So I decided to take a different path. I had a very nice car at that point, which was paid off. I sold that car and I used the money for the down payment on a rental property. I needed to put 20% down. I bought the rental property. I did a light renovation. I replaced the flooring in the living room, dining room, and hallway. I also did some updates to the kitchen and bathrooms. I repainted the property. I installed new window treatments. And I was able to increase the rent and attract really good tenants. And that property cash flowed well. I was then able to purchase a second rental property, and eventually I purchased a primary residence. I did not move into that primary residence alone. I had been living with three guys from college that I knew in an apartment, and I moved all three of them into the primary residence that I purchased, and they all paid me rent, and we split utilities 4 ways. I was able to basically live in that property for free. That was pretty nice because it allowed me to be able to take extra cash left over every month from my primary job and extra money that was left over each month from the cash flow from the rentals to be able to save to purchase another rental property. And it all began to snowball after that. I got to the point where I did not need to use other people's money to purchase rental properties anymore. I could save enough each year to pay cash for another one. But when I got started, I had to use other people's money. I was able to get loans from financial institutions, and then I also used the money from the tenants to then make the payments to those financial institutions. This all involved risk. And I don't want to give you the impression that this was easy, because it was not. I had to deal with all types of nightmare scenarios. Anyone who tells you being a landlord is easy, well, they're either really lucky or they're lying. I had to deal with a lot of issues. Once I had a guy who had emptied the clip in his handgun, but he forgot to remove the round from the chamber, and he blew 2 of his fingers off, and then the bullet entered his leg and severed an artery, and he almost bled to death. I had to deal with domestic violence. I had to deal with people who were involved with drugs. I had to deal with bed bugs. I had to also deal with other types of pest infestations. I had collapsed sewer lines. I had sewer drain backup situations more than once. The list goes on and on. I regularly got phone calls from tenants each week, and I knew if things were quiet, there was a storm brewing, and I was about to get a call for some new problem that I had to figure out how to solve. Things got really bad when we had storms, or if we had really, really cold weather in the winter, because I knew there was going to always be some type of issue with a frozen pipe or something like that. So it wasn't easy, but it allowed me to be able to build net worth while using somebody else's money. I think that a lot of people in America may not want to go this route because it does involve risk and it involves a lot of hard work. A lot of people wouldn't want to live in a primary residence with 3 other roommates for several years while you are trying to build up your net worth. Some people would prefer to be able to just purchase a primary residence on their own and just hope for the best. Well, in our society right now, there are a lot of folks who simply can't do it on their own. Even with 2 breadwinners, it's often difficult to afford a mortgage payment, utilities, maintenance costs, along with car expenses, food expenses, healthcare expenses, etc. Some people can't do it. They try, but there are unexpected things that happen in life, and then they have to rely on credit cards to help out. And some people are unable to pay off the credit card balances at the end of the billing cycle. And then the debt spiral begins. And once you enter that debt spiral, sometimes you can never get out of it. I have seen a lot of people crash and burn in my life. A lot of people took on too much debt. They thought they would be able to handle it, and they couldn't. And their life fell apart pretty quickly. Sometimes that resulted in divorce. And that's really sad for young children when their parents separate and when they're forced to move out of their childhood home and maybe go to different schools and have to make new friends. It's not an easy thing. So I think young folks right now who feel disillusioned may be looking at their situation and wondering, how am I going to avoid pitfalls that I have seen thus far in my life? How am I going to afford a home? How am I going to afford a car? How am I going to get a good paying job in my field that I studied for? And some people probably throw up their hands and want to give up. And I really wanted to make this video today to help these young folks. My message is, don't give up. What you should do is really try to educate yourself. Talk with successful people. Talk with people who were able to build net worth with hard work and strategy, and get some input from these folks. I'm not saying that you listen to one person's advice and do that. Go out there, talk to several different people, read some books, watch some videos online, and then see if you can put in place a plan and then see it through. And make sure you are willing to do the hard work necessary and you are willing to put up with the risks, because there are a lot of risks. I encountered a lot of problems, and sometimes I just barely was able to deal with them, especially early on when I did not have vast financial resources. It can be pretty scary when you encounter something expensive and you have to get really creative regarding how you're going to pay for that. So I don't want to give anyone the impression that this is easy, because it is not. But I don't think people should give up. I don't think people should be depressed or disillusioned about the future. There is always a way that you can be successful. And if it doesn't work out for you after your first attempt, well, try again. I know a lot of successful people who are successful because they continue to work very hard. If they make a mistake, they don't let it get to them. They try again until it works. I just saw a friend of mine recently who came to America from another country. He started as a dishwasher. He then got a job at a gas station, and eventually he started working at a truck stop. And while at the truck stop, he got to talk with a lot of truckers. He decided to get a CDL license and become a trucker. He learned a lot about the trucking industry. And because he didn't have a lot of money, he had to learn how to repair a semi-truck. Well, all of that learning paid off, because he was eventually able to purchase multiple semi-trucks and hire multiple drivers, and he was able to start a semi-truck repair business. Now he has multiple locations, and he owns close to 100 semi-trucks. If you've ever looked at how much a semi-truck costs, well, it can cost as much as some entry-level homes. So he's doing quite well financially these days. And he came to America with nothing, but he was willing to put in the work and take the risks necessary to eventually become successful. So I hope this video was encouraging to folks who feel disillusioned right now. I really hope no one gives up. I think there are so many opportunities in America today if you get out there and look for them, and when you find one, you capitalize on that opportunity. So share your thoughts about all this in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to the channel. I want to extend a special thanks to everyone who has subscribed to this channel. I want to also thank all of my channel members. If you would like to become a channel member, there is a link in the description beneath this video. You can read more about the different membership levels. Please also check out some of the great books I suggest you consider reading in the description below. I've included Amazon affiliate links to these books. As an Amazon associate, I earn from qualifying purchases. Stay healthy and wealthy. I'll see everyone in the next video.